Righto, today's little project, we have something quite unusual. And I bought this probably 5 years ago. It's an Essex. It doesn't say what model it is. So distributed by Verity's Fans, September 1960. I think that's what that means. It's got some British patents on it. The blades are glorious aluminium. Physically, it's in reasonable condition. So plug this bad boy in, power it up. Yes, I know my workspace is a mess. And you've got a little click indexer here, which I quite like. 1, 2, 3 speeds, and then off. And no action at the station. So I'll show you. Make sure that is off. We've got voltage down here at the terminal contacts, and also you can slide this out slightly, so you can probably see that. And if I put my multimeter on these pins, which I'll show you, AC, 240 volts. Okay, so that means I've got power through the switch mechanism. See how we go with the second one. Okay, nothing. Third one, 239 volts. Okay, so there's power getting through the switch, so the switch is okay. It seems to be a little bit dodgy and a bit intermittent, but I've got power through the switch, so there's obviously a fault somewhere up here in the motor mechanism. Let's pull it apart, see if it's simple or if not. But I love these old fans, and these are great because as a kid you learn to be careful. If you stuck your finger in the fan like this, you'd lose a finger. Simple. None of this pansy stuff that we're dealing with in 2025. Alright, let's go. Just going to unplug that and unplug this, and then I can unscrew this. And all I'm trying to do is to make this a little bit easier to work on. Okay, there we go, that unplugs. Now before I forget, I'm going to put the cover back on the plate there, like so. Just screw all that back on. So the first thing I'm going to do is to take the guard off. So just get a long bladed Phillips head, go around successively and take out each of the 4 guard screws. Now you got to be super careful with these because these are all cast. Maybe these aren't cast, but you can see this one is a little bit bent. So it's had a bit of a hard life, this fan, I'd say. So when you're dealing with items that are cast, you get one chance to try and get them in the right position, and then basically you work hard on them and they crack. Now I can see here this is loose now, but what I want to do is get access to, I want to slide this out of the way to get access. There's a dome cap screw that holds all this together. So this is loose, but I've still got to get into the top of the fan. Yeah, I thought so. This is righty loosey, lefty tighty. Now you can bend these tabs out of the way, so I'm going to gently do that because I really do want to take this. There we go. Gently, yeah, gently. 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 And that does come out. Voila. So there's also a lock nut in behind there, and it looks like there's a locking mechanism to take the fan off, so I'll try and take that off next. Just be careful not to bend these blades. Oh, looks like they're all individually connected. Now this is going to come off in one big go. Here we go. Now hopefully I don't need to mark which blade is which. I might actually do that. I might get a bit of masking tape and mark which is which before I proceed, just so that if they have to go back in the right order. There we go. Whoop. Gosh, I'm making a mess of this. 4 fan blades, 1 casing, 1 cowling, and this can also now pull out. So unscrew the back here, and I'm kind of hoping that this is one of those tricky ones that can rotate in a couple of different axes, but we'll see. So that's just pulling off the end there, but you can see what I mean. So that one's slightly bent out of shape, so that will need to be gently bent back in. But I'd say that this is a casting. Most things of this era were cast. So what I'm expecting, or what I'm hoping for, is that it's not a motor winding problem, but see, there's a little bit of wear on this electrical cable here. So I'm hoping that if I slide this cowl out, and that does just pop out, gosh, things are well designed back then. I'll do some voltage checks, plug this back in, do some voltage checks, and see if it's a break in this cable, or if it's actually a problem with the motor winding. If it's a motor winding problem, I think I'm pretty stuck, but otherwise we might have a hope of getting this thing back in some sort of operating order. Alright, now there should be a little gearbox in here. I'm guessing a little worm drive, so let's take that cover off and have a look. Oh yeah, there we go. So a nice little worm drive that just oscillates this fan back and forth. Put that back because I don't need to mess with that yet. That will be, once I get the fan going, hopefully I can, that'll be a problem for another day. I can actually smell that old grease. It's quite interesting. Okay, so now I'm just going to do some continuity checks on these cables just to see if there's breaks in those wires. If it is, easy fix. Okay, continuity. So this will be earth. Yep, nothing there. So that one has continuity, but this one does not. I think we found our problem. So all I need to do is replace both cables in this wire here, keep that original plug if I can, well I have to, and then rewire this up. Now what this is going to mean is that the rebuild of this won't have these nice cloth wires, but look at this. I mean, this is now what, jeepers, 75-year-old insulation, and it has been oscillating its whole life, so it's no wonder it's broken. So kudos for lasting this long. So I'm going to have to replace the earth, and as well as these active and neutral pins and active and neutral wires, but let's hope that the motor windings are okay. What I could do is I could put voltage directly onto the motor to see if it spins, but let's replace the wires and let the motor and the motor speed controller, the original one, do its job and see if it works. I've just cut a bit of lead from a spare power lead that I had lying around. It's as thin as I've got, but you can see it's not quite thin enough, so it could be a bit of a tight squeeze, and it's a little bit longer than what I need, and I've done that just because of the flexibility that I think I might need. Okay, the other thing I've done is I've marked which is active, which is the red one over here, and which is neutral, which is this one. So I've just got a little chook scratch here saying that side is active, that side is neutral, and then of course we've got our earth down here. So I'm just going to carefully take these out, and I think what's going to have to happen is this plug is proprietary and it's molded, so I might have to see if I've got continuity from a bit further up. Hopefully the break is not here, and then I'm going to have to work out how I deal with this plug because this is irreplaceable. But first let's take these off and the other side, and we'll take the earth off. So this is now our wiring loom. So you can see that the earth, look at the earth there, absolutely frayed. You afraid? Afraid not. Now the other thing I've noticed is this fan as an asynchronous drive, just going to loosen that screw off. Yeah, it spins pretty freely actually, see that? But I will spray a bit of silicone lube down that shaft just to make sure that is spinning as freely as possible, and that bearing, or the bearings at each end, are as lubricated as possible. Now what I've got is this ancient, it weighs probably 5 or 6 kilos. It's a multi-winding AC transformer. So I've got this hooked up to 100 volts AC. So let's just see what our voltage is. Oh, that is not bad. 240 step down to 100 volts AC. What I'm going to do is I will hook this up to these tabs on the motor just to make sure that our motor, I'm just going to give it a bump test just to make sure that we don't have a problem with the coil winding, because it would be a shame to get all this way and replace all the wiring, replace the plug, do some work, clean it up, and find that we've actually got a failed winding in the motor coil. Righto, so I'm just going to put an insulated glove on just because I hate, even at 100 volts, this thing will still put out quite a lot of current. So I'm just going to tap this. We're getting some spinning there. Perfect, all right. So we know our fan is okay. Whew. Good smoke test. All right, power this down, make sure it's safe, and get on with our rewiring of our plug. I think we fixed it. So what I'm doing, I'm just teasing back the old cloth winding here. Okay, hi, it's me from the future here. Just a quick note that I've jumped around a little bit because I did try and salvage the existing cord and the existing plug. I siliconed them up, I tried to save it, couldn't do it, it was rubbish, so I ditched that idea and went with the wooden insert into the original plug. I tried to drill out the original plug, it turned out to be ceramic, I thought it was Bakelite, silly me. Anyway, I think the final solution is far better, and so I've got a fixed fan, fixed cabling, but all the speeds work, the digital control works, the oscillation works, really happy. Okay, for my little mud map, this was active. We know that in Australia, active is brown. This is neutral, which is blue. Righto, reassembly. As they like to say, or as I like to say, experience is something you get just after you need it. So I'm pretty sure that I've got a faster way of putting these fan blades back on. Now, by the way, I've given everything a good clean, just with a bit of cream cleanser and a bit of sugar soap. And you've got the fan blades drying off in the sun. Beautiful day here today. Okay, beautiful. Now why don't we just do a dry run test of this and see if we can get it to fire up. Okay, now obviously this is live power, so be very, very careful. Beautiful. Alright, unplug that, put our fan blades on, and we'll be very close to a full road test. Now there are no bolts to hold these or pins to hold these in place, so I think what you do is you line them up by eye and then slowly rotate. So I get my shifter out, it's ready to go, and you rotate the bottom, so all these align the same way. And they kind of seem to lock into, just naturally lock into place. I'm just using my fingers to secure the lock nut underneath. I can take these numbers off, give these blades one last clean before the cage goes on. I probably didn't need these, but you just never know when you're dealing with stuff this old. Give it a road test. Okay, we got power. Whoop. Yep, watch that. Now 2 is not doing anything. 3 is doing something. So 3 is a lower speed. Beautiful. Okay, done. Oh, maybe not. So where is it rubbing? Okay, at the front there. So that cage needs to be bent forward. So a little bit more work to do. Alright, just needed a bit of realignment and we're good to go. Fantastic. 1, full speed. It's probably too fast anyway. 2 is not working, but I might have a look at that. Open up the switch gear in the middle, in the tower there, but really 3 is where it's at. But that is beautiful. Look at that. And then if you move that lever down, you get a recirculating fan. And that is nice and silent. I sprayed a bit of WD-40 on the bearings there, and they are beautiful. Gosh, that looks good with that aluminium. Looks so good. Success. Happy days. So may as well jump into, here we go, there's the model number. 12-inch fan. So it even tells you that it's 38 watts at 50 hertz. How cool is that? So we've got a screw up the top there. We've got a couple of screws in the bottom. I'm going to take those off, see if I can split this thing apart. And I've already taken the little knob off the side here, the speed control knob and speed controller, which is probably going to be a couple of wire wound resistors. Okay, screws are all taken out. Okay, there we go, problem. So that is going to be the problem. That is our speed controller for speed 2, and it has become unsoldered. Super quick fix, easy. We've got a very, very short lead here, so I may not be able to actually show you the actual solder, because you can just see there how short that is. And I don't need to extend it really, because once this repair is done, it is done. There we go. Hopefully that is enough. Put all this together and we'll see how we go. Okay, screw this back together. Alright, so that's been fixed. We'll resolder it back on. Give it a smoke test. 1, 2, excellent. That's half speed. 3, low speed. Righto, so I've taken the cover off, and this is what we see. And I'm going to get rid of this. It looks crap, and I'm going to replace it. This is the speed controller in here, the speed controller switch. This is our little step-down transformer. This is the wire 2 that I soldered the other day. So we've got main power coming in, goes into, we've got basically a common going into the feed. We've got obviously our earth pin going to the chassis, and then we've got the blue line going into the step-down transformer. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little potentiometer. So this is an old, call it a variac, call it a dimmer. You've got to get one for halogen lights. LED ones won't work because they're digital step-down dimmers, and they're no good for this. But for incandescent, for old asynchronous motors, a halogen or standard dimmer is perfect, and they're literally $5 on eBay. So I've got one on order. I'll see where I fit it, whether it goes in the bottom here or maybe neatly on the side if it looks period enough. And I'm also going to replace this. I think I'll have just a black wire coming straight into this plug here, and I'll drill this out and just replace this. So you won't be able to pull the plug out anymore, but I don't think you need to do that. Righto, this has just turned up. This is my little speed controller, so let's have a look, see if we can fit it to the guts of this fan. And you can see what the inside looks like. Okay, so this is what we're looking at. So there's really not much to this. I'm not going to pull that heat shrink apart, but basically your little grub screw to lock it on. Yep, does go on. And a very, very, very thinly made, oh, it's even got an on-off detent on it. Okay, let's hook this up to an incandescent globe and see if it works. Right, I've just got this hooked up. Let's activate this. Okay, so minimum voltage is 112. As we spin that up, get maximum voltage to 238. So that's going to be our linearity, that's going to be our turn down. Hopefully that's enough to give good speed control for this fan, but all we can do is test it. Okay, so this is on the lowest speed setting, and I'm just going to put the multimeter on the 2 feeds going to the motor. We go 178 volts, so that's the minimum speed off obviously, and this is the highest speed. We should get 240 volts, 242 volts. So there we have it, 176 volts, and we know that the turn down from this little potentiometer is down to 110 volts. So that should give us almost the perfect turn down of linearity for control, to have speed control for our fan. Okay, so I've got this hooked up, and I just wanted to show you how it works. So basically, I've got the speed controller here. I'll turn this on, and at the moment we are on speed 1, which is the highest speed setting. So you've now basically got speed control. I'll just gently turn that. You can hear that slowing down. You've got speed control now with this little potentiometer, this little variac, on every single speed setting. Now, what I have to do is I have to work out where this is going to fit in the case. So I'm going to make this protrude somewhere through the case. So something like this, something like this. So I'll have a bit of a play, and then we'll wire it up and reassemble it. Okay, so I tried to modify this by drilling it out, thinking I'd slide a new piece of black 3-core through there, so to an active, a neutral and an earth, and you can see that I was able to successfully drill it out, but I discovered it's actually made of ceramic, and so it probably damaged my drills. I thought it was actually like a Bakelite plastic, so what I've done is I've replaced it with a little bit of timber blocking that you can see there and drilled a hole through it. So the hole is the right size for my conduit, which will just slide in like that. And anyway, I've also epoxied that little block on, and that actually fits quite neatly, and I've given it a very light coat of varnish that you can see, and I'm just going to quickly reassemble and hopefully this will all work. But if I pull this apart, you'll see that what I've done is I've got a little bit of timber here, little block that is identical to the little trim pot there. So I know that if this block fits, then this is going to fit as well. It's tight and it pushes up against the transformer in there, but it is going to fit. So now I know that I can set that up like that and drill a hole, and it's not going to foul any of these internal components, because the last thing you want is if you put something in here and find that it simply won't close up because what you put in is too big. Big mistake. Righto, moment of truth. I've fitted this in. Let's see if it fits or if it fouls. Let's tuck those out of the way. Now look at that casting. That's just fantastic. That slides on the plug mount there. Gosh, these things were well built. Push that in and look at that. Absolutely perfect fit. So put our little knob on there, and that is what my speed controller is going to look like, hopefully, if I can get this thing working. Alright, got my soldering iron heated up, let's go. Okay, I've got the earth loop screwed in there that you can see, and I'm just going to put a tiny little cable tie in here, just so that this cable can't pull through. There we go, done. Okay, we're ready to test now. Okay, let's put power on. Oh yes, beautiful. So everything's wired up, just loose. I've got the cable, the heat shrink ready to go, and that is absolutely beautiful. Look at that linearity, that's really nice. Okay, now all I've got to do is replace the cable. You can see that's dodgy, I won't go anywhere near that, it's live voltage. And I've got to replace that cable going into the back of the fan motor, which means taking this whole cowl off again and rewiring that up. But I think this is a fast, furious solution with my little wooden block. Okay, so putting this back together, I found that this original leather strap, and it is leather, that goes around to bind that on, is just a little bit too short. So I made another one out of aluminium that's just a little bit wider, and I've already checked it. This fits on like that, no problem. On this fan, you've actually got two little grease nibbles, two lubrication points. You've got one here near the front cowling of the fan, and you've got another one at the back of the fan down there. So another absolutely superb design point for this glorious Essex 12-inch fan, and this is the final product. Couldn't be happy with this result. So after some careful reassembly, I put everything back together and did a bit of a smoke test on the bench, and now I'm at a point where I can plug it in and just do one final check. That's off. Let's click that on, and I can hear it humming. Let's give it a little bit more power, and we've got that absolutely beautiful speed control. It still does make a tiny bit of a hum, but it's moving just a nice amount of air, but I think that looks absolutely fantastic. And then that's on 1, 2 and 3, which is the lowest speed. So it's using the speed controller and the inbuilt speed controller transformer. So but that little pot down there is working absolutely beautifully. I actually think it looks pretty period, but I'm really happy with this.